Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now it's not every day I get to film a video like today. In today's video, here in my hands, a couple of really cool blades. First and foremost, both of these from Shade Indonesia. In my possession here, a prototype that you will see for the first time, an Outer Limitless design in collaboration with Shade of Indonesia. And second, Shade of Indonesia's newest design. I think you are going to really like this video. Both of these blades absolutely phenomenal. I'm really excited to break this box open and show these to you. So what we're going to do today, a first look at both of these incredible blades, the beautiful work of Shade of Indonesia in my hands. I am absolutely pumped for this. So if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now again, here in my hands, a box with a couple of blades from Shade of Indonesia. I am not going to delay too long, but while I crack this open, first and foremost, thank you very much to Shani, who did provide these for me. I purchased my prototype and his new knife he did provide to me. So a little bit of a collaboration here. This is going to be fantastic. Let's get these out of the box. And so if you don't know about Shade of Indonesia, I really suggest taking a look at Facebook, taking a look at Instagram, taking a look at some, I would say, up-and-coming reviewers who have been covering Shade of Indonesia in great detail. An absolutely phenomenal company, really starting to make a name for themselves. The manufacturing, second to none. Really very well done, and in this case I am so proud to be able to work with them in this build. So as I break this out, you may have seen this logo before. So again, here, Shade Indonesia, be brave, be different, really cool. And Indonesia absolutely having a long heritage of making just renowned weaponry in really difficult conditions, just really hard work tools, and that's exactly what we have here. So as I break these out, so we're gonna slide this aside for the moment, and this is an Outer Limitless design. So my design, again, manufactured by Shade. This is the Inception. Very cool. Now, I reached out to Shani a while ago and said, hey man, would you be interested in working with me? So this is a few months in the works at this point. And as I break this out, I can tell you already this feels extremely nimble and exactly what I had hoped this would be. I think you guys are gonna like this. So here, the Inception. This is phenomenal, absolutely awesome. I am pumped. Let me clean this up real quick and I will show this to you in detail. And so here, all cleaned up, this Inception. Again, this is a beautiful design. I am absolutely pumped about this. This is in 5160, which I am a big fan. Shade of Indonesia, basically specializing in 5160. This is the predominant steel that they use on the bulk of their tools, so why shy away from that? In my opinion, this is a great serviceable steel capable of performing for very hard tasks. Shade of Indonesia doing a magnificent job with their manufacturing, and as you see here, looking up close, almost a mirror polish. I mean, very nicely done. A very high saber grind, and in fact, my original design for this was a full flat grind, but it ended up being a little bit more saber because I did want to have this brute de forge look. As you look here, the scale left over on the side of the blade. These are basically, for the most part, handmade. There is a little bit of machining work here, but at the same time, tons and tons of hand finishes. That brute de forge, absolutely beautiful. A very nice convexed grind. So the entire blade here, as you look down the profile, convexed, very sharp, ridiculously sharp, right down to that zero grind. So a full convex edge, this is going to be a fantastic slicer, a fantastic splitter, and just a great overall wilderness survival blade. Now, as you can see here, this is a 3/16 inch spine. So generally speaking, this is going to strike the perfect balance between being nimble and lightweight and balanced, and also having the stout factor that you need. This is probably my favorite thickness for an overall wilderness survival blade. Good generous finger choil, a little bit small maybe. I might ask Shade to open that up just a touch. I do like a little bit more room, and maybe just kiss over the back edge of the blade there so you don't accidentally get nicked. But at the same time, definitely going to be suitable. You can get a nice grip in there. Over the top, you can see a little bit of a ramp. So this is going to fit nicely for a cross between sort of that tactically inspired knife and then also a quality wilderness blade. Little bit of a ramp there with some jimping, but it's not overly aggressive. Actually, it feels really good. As you look over the top, you can see just a little bit softened off. So that's going to be nice where it's not going to catch your thumb, not going to really rip you up too much, but at the same time give you some nice purchase on the top of the blade. The one thing about Shade of Indonesia that you absolutely cannot deny is the perfect fit and finish of the handles. No lip, no sort of gaps, anything like that. Just perfectly hand sanded right flush to the tang of the knife. That makes a huge difference, and for me that just shows the quality and the intention to detail that you get from Shade of Indonesia. The handle is where all the interface happens, making very careful sort of decisions on the shape of the handle and really feeling out these curves. Now, this does have a little bit of the Shade styling. So some of the things you see here is Shade styling. I will need to test this just a little bit to make sure that there's no sort of hot spots or snags in a couple of these areas where there are the cutouts. But at the same time, the overall handle just feeling phenomenal. Indexing literally perfect. I am so pumped about that. I have a large size hand and this fitting literally perfect. Everything just rounded out. And as I get into the reverse grip, that's going to actually work out just fine over the top. A little bit sort of nervous at first with the looks of this being the exposed tang up over the top, but as I put my thumb on there, no worries at all. That is not going to be a problem. That's going to work very well for those stabbing tasks with a nice pronounced guard. So that's another thing, making sure this knife had a real solid guard, the ability to do, sort of stabbing and splitting tasks. I do, for the most part, use all of my wilderness blades for fire prep. So this is going to do a nice job in all those cases. Now, keep in mind, I will be taking orders for these. If you're interested in these, do me a favor, reach out to me at outerlimitless@gmail.com, where I can give you more details on price, on availability, and when I expect these will be available for you. But for the most part, I can tell you already by feeling this is going to perform. It's not going to take a ton of testing for me to figure out the exact final design. I would call this the 95% mark. I can tell just by holding this is going to be an absolute performer. Some final details on the handle. You can see it is two-tone micarta, so the brown and black, I really like that. Very nicely done. Sort of that bolstered look coming from Shade. I asked for that specifically, and they pulled it off wonderfully. Copper pins here, nice and fluted, really, really nicely done and very flush. That looks great. And then you can see the maker's mark. So the Shade of Indonesia maker's mark, sort of mosaic pin. On this side of the blade, laser etched Shade of Indonesia and the Inception 5160 and the year 2022. And on this side, my Outer Limitless logo. So very nicely done from Shade. I am absolutely pumped about this, and I cannot wait to get this into some good hard field use. Now, in terms of the sheath, nicely done. Leather sheath, pretty straightforward. This is going to be a standard belt sheath. You can see very well welted. Beautifully done, and Shade doing a fantastic job with the construction. Simple snap over the top for retention. That's going to work out just fine. And as we get the Inception in the sheath, nice fit, fairly well fit. Little bit loose maybe. Might have Shade tighten up on that just a touch, but at the same time, you do end up with a snap for retention. So as I get this on here, No problem, brass snap, pretty nice. I do like it. So very simple package. This is going to be a nice belt knife, capable of doing some good hard work. I cannot wait to get this into the field for some good quality field use and testing. This is going to be fun. Now, comparing this against some other designs that I have come up with in the past, the one that it's the most reminiscent to, my TFK T17.6. So as you see here, very similar overall. However, some fundamental differences. First and foremost, a higher grind. This is going to definitely be a higher grind. Again, remember, I designed this originally to be closer to a full flat grind. You do end up with an unsharpened swedge on the top and a slightly different overall clip. You can see here a little more towards a clip point than here. This is almost like a reverse Tonto design, so a little bit different. You end up with a more pronounced ramp on the jimping and a little bit different shape coming through the ricasso area. Now again, the T17 having a more generous finger choil, I will probably open this up a bit more on the Inception. And then again, the handles, very different in terms of the overall shape. A little bit longer on the T17, a little more traditional in terms of the length of the handle on the Inception, a little more palm swell and a little more contoured. And then the back end is really where you get to see some of those differences. So a little more sort of European style here on the T17, a little more bushcrafty, maybe you would say, on the Inception. Both of them being beautifully just crafted by the makers, but a little bit different, so you do get some variety. Now, in terms of the blade length on the Inception, you do end up with approximately 6¼ inches. You're pushing to about 7 inches through the finger choil area, but at that, you do start kind of bumping into the beginning of your handle. So just a little bit shy of 7 inches of total blade length, with your cutting edge being closer to 6¼ inches. Now again, comparing this to some other things that I have in the works, here you can see the Horizon fixed blade prototype that I have with Bestech sitting here, very nice. And again, you can see just that Inception being a larger survival style knife. Comparing it here against the Work Tough Gear Woods Craft Chanto. The Chanto, of course, being a much larger knife, just kind of dwarfing this a little bit, but you can see here, just fitting nicely with its brother. I love seeing these designs sitting here all together. The Outer Limitless lineup definitely growing quickly. It is just fun. I'm having a blast. I love designing these blades and seeing things coming out of makers from around the world like Shade of Indonesia. It's just inspiring. So to Shani from Shade, beautifully done. And speaking of that, well, here, as I mentioned, the newest design from Shade of Indonesia, almost not fitting in the frame. In fact, I need to back out just a touch, and that's better. Now fitting in the frame here, this is the DarkHorse 2. Again, the newest design from Shade of Indonesia. If you're a Work Tough fan, you've probably seen the Nightmare 3. That is a Shade design. And here you can see this beautiful leather sheath, double snap over the top, really cool. Nice little relief here. And actually already with a lanyard on here, matching wonderfully. And whoa, check this out. This is badass. Kukri design, really cool. Just gorgeous. Little bit more maybe than 1/4 inch stock, but then just wonderfully ground. You end up with a nice thick stock, but it tapers the entire way. So this is almost like a full flat grind down into a convexed edge. That awesome sort of napping look with that nice generous fuller. This thing is badass. Look at that. It's almost like a striking notch for a ferro rod. That thing should absolutely rip. And in fact, as I feel in there, it's not like a tooth. It is sharpened, but it's not like it would cut you. So that should do a nice job on a ferro rod. Check out this handle work. Absolutely gorgeous. I love the choice of this. And it is micarta, I believe, as I grip on that. Feels like micarta, has some grippiness. I don't think that's G10. So multi-layered micarta, beautifully done with that awesome traction design. It's going to give you a real nice grip on there. Feels awesome, and a multi-position handle, which is fantastic. So your forward grip and then further back for chopping, but check out what they did. They added this area through the ricasso, which is almost like a choil, but at the same time, you're really gripping on a full thickness of steel there, and that's going to work out very well. And as I grip that and my thumb going up onto this little ramp, that is really nice. So this feels cool. I like it a lot. And a couple of different grips where you can get a little more forward or a little back depending on what you're doing. As we take a look, it has this pronounced hamon line. Again, keep in mind this is 5160, so their predominant steel being 5160, but that real heavy hamon line, I like that a lot. Just absolutely gorgeous, razor, scary sharp. This thing is going to be a carving beast, and I know this is going to bite. Big, huge belly up front. Again, the forward chopping power of a kukri. This is definitely going to come into play. Should be a fantastic splitter. So batoning, if you believe in it, which I do, this is going to do a nice job. And with an extra long handle, that's going to do a nice job giving you plenty of width to span, yet getting your hands and knuckles away from the work so you're not dragging your knuckles as you're batoning. Absolutely awesome. Getting into some further detail, again, those fluted pins there. So actually, I don't know if I would technically call those fluted. They're pretty much just flush cut, but nicely done. And then again, your maker's mark. Lanyard hole here. That sort of shade styling, this entire thing, of course, is, but that's a very sort of, I'd call it trademark look at this point, coming from Shade. Having that lanyard hole forward and in that little bit of a ramp. Just magnificent. This thing is a beast. So the DarkHorse 2, really, really sick. And of course, you're going to be able to leverage this lanyard if you want. This is nice. It's sort of a slip joint design that they've worked into the end. If you've never seen how to make one of these, I suggest it. It's a very practical design, nicely done. And you can see here, fashioned with some nice ends. So this is going to give me a nice grip as I grab onto this. I can tighten this down and get a real positive lockup. Then on the back here, you'll notice it's almost like a striking spike on the back, not overly sharp, but definitely capable of cracking some things, or if you had to, a little bit of a sort of less lethal self-defense. That napped look and tons of spine work. Look at this. Just all the way down the tang of the knife. That nice spine work, really, really cool. Coming out of the jimping, spine work, jimping, spine work, down into that spike. Really, really nice. So the DarkHorse 2, phenomenal. What a beautiful blade. Now, of course, again, Shade doing a wonderful job with their leather work, nicely welted. Actually, pretty neat design. It's kind of cool how they did that. Gives it this extra sort of little piece on the bottom for some shape. It's also going to help to hold this flat against your leg a little bit, which is nice. And then you end up with these snaps. Now, keep in mind that there are these loops. You could actually take another sheath. And when Shawnee showed me this package, he actually had my sheath piggyback riding on this, which is definitely a neat idea. And the fact that the straps actually buckle in the back works out pretty well. And you can see, simple belt loop, nicely stitched, nicely welted, everything about this just beautiful. And so reach out to Shade of Indonesia for details on the DarkHorse 2. I do not personally know at this point in time about the exact availability of this. However, what I can tell you is this is literally hot off the press. Fresh, hot off the press. So if you're interested in this, definitely reach out to Shade of Indonesia. Give them some support. Let them know that you've seen it here and that you're interested. And this will be heavily field tested. So much more to come. And so this DarkHorse 2 falling into roughly the 8.5-inch blade size class. It's a wonderful size. I do like this overall. Fits great in the hand. Actually, it's going to be pretty interesting to potentially put this up against some other competition. I think this is going to more than hold its own. Just amazing. I love the quality, the attention to detail, and the overall fit and finish from Shade of Indonesia. Again, remember what I said, and whether it's the DarkHorse 2 or the Inception, either way you go, you're getting a really nice, well-made blade, and I'm just picking this up, realizing how incredibly nimble and balanced this is. This is phenomenal. I am so happy to have bumped into Shade, to have the opportunity to work with them, to have the honor of a blade being made by such an incredible maker across the world, literally across the world. This thing is phenomenal. So again, guys, if you like what you see here with the Inception, do me a favor, take a look below, reach out to me at outerlimitless@gmail.com for more details. And if you like the DarkHorse 2, reach out to Shade of Indonesia, who can give you all the details. And with that, again, much more testing to come. Thank you for staying along with me during this video. I do greatly appreciate it. So again, to Shade of Indonesia, Shani, thank you very much, man. I greatly appreciate it. And for the rest of you, if you like this content, do me a favor, take a look at my Outer Limitless 2 channel, which is more on the tactical and firearm side of things. At this point, that channel is growing quickly. So if you like what you see here on Outer Limitless, do me a favor and check me out on Outer Limitless 2. So all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.